All is yours.
Okay. Hello, everybody. I'm a recovered alcoholic, and my name is Dave. Nice to see you all. I'll set my timer. Thanks. Yeah, I set the timer for 29 minutes, and I'll try to shut up as soon as it goes off. So, wow. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me to speak. It's really amazing what's going on in the world since 2019 in Alcoholics Anonymous. The fact that we can pop into each other's countries and and speak and talk to each other and get to know each other is just really mind-blowing. I have not taken as much advantage of that as I kind of wish I had, and I want to do more of that. I've sort of stuck close to Tokyo because that's where I got sober, and I sort of have my little community there. But it's amazing. I mean, it's just great to be speaking to people in India and wherever else. I see some people that I know. And it's great to see you guys. I'm like way more nervous than I thought I would be. So I was all calm, and this morning I was all sort of like zen about it. Oh, I know what I'm going to talk about. Oh, yeah, I gave the topic a message of hope. I know exactly what I'm going to say. And then my mind went blank like an hour ago. I was talking to a friend of mine. He's like, "What are you going to talk about?" I'm like, okay, better pray about it. So I did a little bit of that. I have been looking forward to this. It's been a bit of a long day. I worked quite a lot. I was very grateful for the work, which is okay. So this is the message of hope. So here's my theme. I've been sober for 3 years, as Dilbas said, and I hope I'm pronouncing your name right too. And around year one, my sponsor, no, sorry, okay. I've been sober for 3 years, but I came in 4 years ago. I had some familiarity with 12-step programs before that, but when I finally decided I was fucked if I didn't get to AA, it was 4 years ago. I spent 8 days shy of a year white knuckling it before I finally relapsed. And during that time, I did have a sponsor, and I was attempting to work the steps. And at some point early on, my sponsor said to me that he was working, and I said, "Oh, I'm sorry, that sucks." And he said to me, "Oh, I'm grateful for the work." And I was like, "What are you, a lunatic? Nobody's grateful for work. Work sucks. Work's horrible. Life's horrible. Why would you be, you could be happy if you're off and you don't have to do anything. Then you can be kind of happy, but if you have to work, you should be miserable." I believed this. And I thought everybody that worked and that enjoyed work or was grateful for work or even found it tolerable were idiots or crazy or kidding themselves or deluding themselves. And that's what I thought of AA as well. That looking at all you people and how with the smiles on your faces and successful lives, and I was like, you people are brainwashed or just lying, or because you're just you are the same as me, which means you're stuck with the fact that you're an alcoholic, and that means your life's going to suck and you can't even drink anymore, so you might as well hopefully not drink and then maybe die. That's where I thought my life was headed. Miserable bunch of meetings in rooms and work, and no fun, because you can't have fun without alcohol. You can't have fun on a Friday night without getting drunk. So the message of hope is I don't feel that way anymore. I worked today. I didn't have 1 minute of discomfort or displeasure or unhappiness with my work. It was a bit tiring. I finished work and I was tired. That's okay. That's cool, actually. That's kind of how it's supposed to be, But I was grateful from when I woke up this morning until right this minute. Now I'm not so grateful for being all nervous, but other than that, I'm okay. And thanks for the heart, Kristen. I appreciate that. So as I say, I relapsed after a year. and it was nasty. It was only 2 weeks long. I didn't know how long it was until I found a journal entry like months later, and I pieced together how many days. It was 14 days, during which time I ate 200 or 300 benzo pills, 200 or 300 Xanax, and just drank as much as I could. And I tried to kill myself very actively. I was standing on the train platform trying to gather up the courage to jump. I hated myself. I hated my life. I hated my spouse. I hated AA. I hated God. And I just was done. I was like, I don't want to have a sucky life for the rest of my life. I can't drink. I can't not drink. What am I going to do? So I'm not going to talk about anything prior to that. I'm just going to go from, and then day one, September 18th, 2018. Sorry, September 11th, 2018. Yeah, how could I forget September 11th? What a date to wake up, to come to. September 11th, 2018. The day before that, or around that time, was my first step experience, which is personal. I have shared about it with small groups, but I had my first step experience then. But I have to say, I didn't have my second step experience until almost 2 years later. I want to talk about, I'm going to talk about my experience with the steps and my experience from hopeless to hope. And so, yeah, September 11th, 2018, first step happened. But then I got a new sponsor, somebody I'd known and trusted and loved, but I had feared him as a program brother because he was too damn healthy. I had a tendency to shy away from people in the program that were doing well and were healthy and happy and, like, you know, loved AA and loved the steps, because wow, you know, that might make it, I might, you know, they might rub off on me. Maybe I'll become like that and then I won't be able to drink, you know. So I stayed away from those people. But then I asked this person to be my sponsor, a man who, this is the guy I was talking to an hour ago. As a matter of fact, he's no longer my sponsor, but he's a dear brother of mine. I love him to death. I asked him to sponsor me. So that was the first good move that I made. And we started working steps, and we actually like worked steps. Like I did what I could with step 2, step 3, step 4, whatever. I wrote out a 4th step. I had actually done a 4th step before that too. So this was my second formal 4th step. And I did other steps with him. There's somebody with like cars or something. Could they mute? That would be awesome. Thanks. Yeah, I did some step work with him, but it didn't stick. It didn't work. And I know now why. And I'll get to that in a minute. But I was trying to do the step work, and it didn't mean anything to me. I didn't understand the steps. I didn't get it. I was like, yeah, okay, whatever steps, you know, that's not going to make me feel any better. It's just, I don't even know why. I thought they were just, didn't make any sense. Sounded like a chore. And I just did it because I kind of thought I had to, and everybody said I had to, and everybody said that's what you do. Then you got to go apologize to everybody and eat shit and feel bad, and then maybe you'll be lucky and not drink, but you'll still want to, because I wanted to. And anyway, so for that whole first year and into the second, for that whole first year and into the second, thank you for the note, by the way. Thank you, Ronnie. I was trying to work the steps, and I wanted to drink every fucking day. And I wanted to die every day, and I hated myself every day. And I hated AA, and I hated my spouse. I hated my lot in life. I hated how fucked I'd been from an early age, my early childhood trauma. It was impossible to make friends. I couldn't get along even with people in AA. And woe is me, You know, I was still on the self-pity train big time. But I didn't drink, and I did stick with the people. For some reason, I was gravitating towards strong people. That was something that was, I would say, higher power driven. I was gravitating towards strong people. I wasn't afraid of them anymore, and I wasn't afraid of telling them the truth anymore, which was, it's not working for me. I don't know why, but it's not working. All I want to do is drink. And they're like, yeah, okay, just keep working. So what this sponsor did for me, and I'm sure this was divinely inspired as well. He didn't try to push God on me. He didn't try to push the higher power thing. All he asked me to do was to try to be grateful about anything. Like, I was like, you know, some days, you know, what do you mean grateful? You crazy? What are you, an idiot? You grateful? I'm going to text my friend and tell him what an idiot you are. And he's like, wow, that's a really cool phone. I bet you're grateful for that. I'm like, screw you. All right, fine. I'm grateful for the phone, but I had to pay for it. He's like, yeah, well, you know, you got work to get money for that phone, didn't you? You could be grateful for that. I'm like, yeah, all right, whatever. And I hated him for it. And I resisted the shit out of it. But I followed because I had nothing. I didn't know what else to do. You know, I followed because I was at the end of my rope. There was nothing else for me to do. It was the end of the line. It was like this or nothing. Might as well try to do something with it. So anyway, that whole first year, September 2018 to September 2019, nothing. And then October, November, and Thanksgiving came. So this is 14 months in. And we had a fellowship at a rice farm out here in Japan with AA people, and my daughter joined us. And this was the first time, and by the way, she was involved in my first step experience. And she was 13 and 14 when I finally got sober. Extremely wounded, highly, like, fatally wounded. And this was the first thing she did with me. She agreed to do with me 14 months in. She finally agreed to do something with me, which was to go to the AA Thanksgiving thing. And around that time, I started to find gratitude. I started to see some good things around me. I started to appreciate nature. I started to appreciate food. I started to appreciate exercise, which I had lost a lot of weight a while back, even before I got sober, but I was exercising just as a chore, just a general, I have to do this, it sucks, fuck you. But then I was starting to really enjoy it, like, you know, swing by the beach and cycling by the beach and all that sort of thing. I never got on the beach though. I never actually stepped foot on the beach because I was too, you know, the thing of it was I didn't want to be alone with myself too. I hated myself so much. And I was finding gratitude for things around me, but I wasn't grateful for my own lot in life or anything like that, not yet. And that went on for a while longer. And during that time, for a bunch of different reasons, I ended up changing sponsors twice. And then I wound up asking my current sponsor to sponsor me. And this was another thing that I think was just I don't know where it came from, because at the time I realized I needed a new sponsor. This guy wasn't even in Japan. I'd never met him. He wasn't even in Japan. He's my sponsor to this day. And he saw me successfully through steps 2 through 12, like, and changed my life. And I know God changed my life, but he guided me. He walked me through the steps, which is a sponsor's job. And the other sponsor I've been referring to, he guided me to God. So both of them were vitally important for me. Vitally important. And then anyway, around June 2020, now, you know, the whole pandemic happened, and then that, you know, the shit kind of hit the fan. I wasn't able to do AA meetings for a while. I started getting bitter about that and resentful. Oh, this sucks, whatever. But it turned out to be such a blessing in disguise for me, because I had the space that I needed to do the step work for real with this new sponsor. And he had the time to do it because the work was, he didn't have as much work. And I started to really do inventory work. And the first thing I had to get rid of was my resentment at my dad, an alcoholic who I hated for decades. I hated him to a point where I was just tired of hating him. I was so sick of the resentment. I just didn't, I didn't want it anymore. I hated him, but I didn't want to hate him. I didn't know how to not hate him. This is one of the first pieces of work I did with my sponsor to get rid of that resentment, to really do a 4th step, 4-column. That I did before my 2nd step experience. I know this is out of order. Maybe it's against the rules. Maybe people don't, you know, I've made all the mistakes in the book, so I wouldn't worry about that. Don't get my advice if you're trying to do like a rigorous and well-timed program. But I did that. I got rid of that resentment and a couple others, and we started working together. And then one day in June, just before the Carrying the Message meeting, my home group meeting, he says, well, why don't you try meditating? I remember this is the funniest thing in the world, because I wrote this out in a journal, and I wrote something like, aha, he's put me on the path to the 11th step. I'm doing the 11th step now. How aren't I a badass, you know? And because I was so discombobulated, I had no idea what I was doing, but he knew. He's been sober 20 years, and he's seen a lot of guys to step 12, and he knew what he was doing. And I went out and meditated, and then did that a few more times. And a lot of shit came up. Black, dark shit came up. And around that same time, early June 2020, I ended up on the beach. And I felt this amazingly overwhelming sense of gratitude for the fact that I was still alive, because I really shouldn't have been. I was so suicidal. I was so sick. I damaged myself in so many ways. I literally ate a Kentucky Fried Chicken family pack and drank a bottle of whiskey every fucking day for like a decade. I'm not kidding. There's no reason I shouldn't have liver damage right now. There's no reason I shouldn't be dead from that. No reason I shouldn't be dead from death by cop. I used to fuck around with cops and hope that they would hurt me. I used to choke on my puke on a pretty regular basis. I was 110 pounds heavier. There's no reason I should have been alive in June 2020. I'm 50 today. And I got no business being 50 today, but here I am. And I felt so amazingly grateful, and I felt the presence of my higher power for the first time. And, you know, it gives me a chuckle thinking back about it, because I was all, you know, full of myself thinking that was my 11th step experience, but no, that was my 2nd step experience. I could see that there was a higher power who could restore me to sanity. And then I started doing the real work, and I spent that whole summer. And the third, really to touch on the 3rd step, I did start trying to experiment with surrender at that time. I remember, you know, and I was, yeah, I'll try to do that. And I remember being on my bike and thinking, oh yeah, I'll turn it over to God. I'll turn it over to God. And then I thought to myself, well, turn over your mind too, your brain. And then all of a sudden my brain said, no, that doesn't belong to him. That's ours. He can't have that. You know, like I bogged this. I had this like this crisis of like, you know, no, we're not going to turn this over to God. You know, we have to control. We have to run the show. I have to run the show. And I went through all that, and it was like this existential crisis on a mamachari bike in Japan. And like when I got to the end of that, all of a sudden my bike went down a different direction that I usually never even went. And I went flying down this hill, and I started like kind of weeping and like feeling so free. And I was really cruising along. That might have been right around that same time. Might have even been the same day. Now that I think about it, I'm not sure. It was around that same time. So around that time of the 2nd step experience, I was experimenting with the 3rd step, which I still struggle with on a daily basis. I'm trying to do it properly. Sometimes I do okay, and sometimes it's like I want to run the show. And when I do, things don't go as well as I always think that they should or would. But anyway, I plowed into the 4th step, which I did on and off with my sponsor. We were doing the 4th and the 5th around the same time. There was so much to it. I mean, decades and decades of shit. I was actively alcoholic since 1992 or so until 2018. So it's a long time. And I did like one resentment a day, almost every day. And I felt prompted too. I went to different places, different nature spots. Sometimes I went to really ugly spots where, like, you know, I would get these dark feelings out, or like this bitterness. I remember one really painful one, the resentment against my grandfather, who was passed away. And I was thinking, oh, that, you know, fuck him, you know, he would have disapproved of me, whatever. And then I was thinking bad things about him until it finally dawned on me the reason I was so resentful was the fact that I had stolen his pain medication near the end of his life on a regular basis. And I felt this incredible shame. And, you know, what kind of a person would do that? And this was a day that I ended up way the fuck out in the middle of nowhere so I could cry and really bawl, because the shame just had to come out. And it's amazing because you can't get to a place where you're alone in Japan, believe it or not. And I imagine India might be similar, but I was alone. And it was not a person within kilometers, which is amazing. I was led there for a reason. And that's how the fourth step went for me that whole summer. And I wrote and I wrote and I wrote and I wrote until finally my sponsor was like, put down the pen. He literally told me to put down the pen. I was done. And now I do 10th step work. Then after all that, in the fall of 2020, I almost drank. This was after 2 years sober, just after 2 years. I got my coin. I was like, things were going well. I was feeling grateful. I had a higher power. My life was so much better in every measurable way. And I came this fucking close to drinking because I balked on the 8th step. I did not want to do it. I did not want to make amends to my spouse, who I still was bitterly enraged at and hadn't been able to look at my part. And I also was a bit overwhelmed by the financial amends that I owed to my dad. That wasn't so much an anger thing as it just seemed like an impossible ask. I was still very financially in trouble. I'm still poor as fuck. I'm not rich by any means today, but I'm a lot steadier, stabler. And that financial amends was taken care of, and so weren't all of them. And I had said to my sponsor, I can't possibly pay these people back. I'll never be able to do it. And it's done. This is a year later, by the way. So I almost drank. I came so fucking close. A guy in the program saved my life. He came running after me. He broke the rules because I was like, fuck all you guys, I'm out of here. And I just took off down the street. I'd come out of a meeting and I was like, I'm going to drink. And this guy broke the rules and came running after me. He's like, no, let's go to a coffee shop. Let's talk. And he stopped me. And then the next morning, I was able to come to terms with what I had done to my wife, the way that I had used her, taken advantage of her, things like that, things I didn't want to face. That was the last time I came so incredibly close to a drink. And then I've had a couple of like pretty serious like crises. I don't even want to say. Just new realities hit me that made me think maybe I just need to go drink, but nothing like that. Nothing like I thought it was inevitable. I thought it was unavoidable. I thought it was fate. I felt hopeless. That might be the last time I ever felt hopeless. And that was yeah, so fall 2020. So I still feel very raw and very new, but I do say with great confidence, and my sponsor agrees, that I have completed the steps and I am a recovered alcoholic. And I'm so incredibly grateful for that. And I'm going to spend the last 4 or 5 minutes just talking about some of the hope stuff. Message of hope. 3 years ago, I couldn't speak. Actually, 3 years ago, I couldn't even talk to people. Like I could talk to just a few. I was such an introverted, fearful, self-loathing person that I went to meetings, literally, if the meeting was 8 o'clock, I would show up at 7:59 because I was paranoid about being late. But I was also paranoid about having to talk to you or you. I'd show up and I'd sit down and I'd leave when the meeting was over, or I'd go meet up with people, the very few people that I trusted. I was extremely fearful. I had anxiety. I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder and anxiety. I was given a bunch of shit for that, including the benzos, which almost killed me. I've been medication free for 2 years. I haven't had any kind of a manic or depressed event in 2 years. I have very little anxiety. Tonight was probably the highest anxiety I've had in about a month or two. And it wasn't that bad, but I was a bit nervous when I got started with you guys, but I'm comfortable now and I'm glad to be here. I couldn't talk. I couldn't relate to people. It was like, I spent the last 11 years as a hermit, really, from 2006 or so to 2017. I never interacted with people unless I had to make money or buy alcohol. So when I came into AA, it was like looking at monkeys in a zoo or something. People would like blow their nose or sweat or something. I'm like, what are these humans? This is so weird. What are these people? I just couldn't relate to anybody. I was just socially and spiritually dead. And that's not true anymore. The hopeless me, the old me 3 years ago and before that, and even before my first drink, didn't know how to be a friend, didn't know what friendship entailed. I was desperate to be a friend. I was desperate to have friends, but I could not pull it off, even in AA when I came in, because I was so, just so untreated. And now I have a number of dear friends, people I love. People I love dearly, people who love me. And I have a lot of love for myself. I like myself most of the time. I'm not perfect. I have good days and bad days. I still struggle with fear a lot. My life is at quite a crossroads now. I'm in the process of divorce, which was inevitable. It's been inevitable for a long time, but I need to make a lot of changes in the next year or two that are scaring the fuck out of me. I do have financial anxieties. I have anxieties about what the future might hold. If things change, I don't know if God will take care of me like he should, like he's taking care of me now, but what if this happens or that happens? Maybe I better run the show. Maybe he won't take care of it. But I know that's self. And I do pray the third step to free me from the bondage of self every day. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. I still have defects of character I'm working on. I try to work on them and hit the steps on them as often as possible, as often as I need to. And yeah, if anybody in this room thinks that AA doesn't work or the steps don't work, I'm here to tell you, I thought so too. And I had zero confidence. I had zero belief that any kind of joy, happiness, even contentment, serenity, peace was possible. I thought that I would just be, struggling to not drink until I finally died. That has been so far from the case. It's laughable what I thought before, because I know now that, the promise is true and this shit works. So if you're struggling, keep coming back and you'll see. Keep working. It takes a lot of courage though. And with that, I think I'm done. So thank you for letting me share.